WDEB News presents the regular monthly meeting of the Fentress County Commission. The Fentress County Commission meets the third Monday of each month, and you can see it live on Channel 12 Cable TV. It's a presentation of the Union Bank of Jamestown and Clark Range, your reliable banking partner since 1904.
For more than a century, Union Bank has been serving the people of Fentress County. Now, as we begin a new chapter in our history of service, we want to take this opportunity to reassure you that while our building may be new, we're still the same friendly people you have known for years. Union Bank, the same people, the same goals, and the same commitment to you. Union Bank, your locally owned hometown bank for more than a century, growing to meet your needs. Equal Housing Lender Member FDIC.
We'll call this meeting to order. Please rise for the opening prayer and pledge to allegiance. Pledge allegiance by Commissioner Benny Hughes. Opening prayer by Commissioner Lester Goody.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Father, we thank you for blessing us with another day. Thank you, Father, for your mercy and your saving grace. But most of all, Father, thank you for your only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. And Father, we come before you tonight to ask you for guidance in the decisions that we have to make tonight, and ask that you bless each and every one that's here with us tonight. And I ask it in Jesus' precious holy name. Amen. Amen.
Miss Manning, would you please call the roll?
Mickey. Here. Justin.
Here.
Rod.
Here.
Kim. Here. Benny.
Here.
Robert.
Here.
Lester.
Here.
Leon. Larry.
Here.
Julie.
Here.
9 present, 1 absent.
9 present, 1 absent. Item number 5, consideration of approval of minutes from the June 21st and June 28th County Commission meetings.
Make a motion to approve.
I think it may be number 10. I want to check number 10 on the prior minutes on number 10.
Oh, in the minutes?
Mm-hmm, in the minutes. I believe that failed, didn't it?
That was from the 21st.
It did.
There's 2 sets of minutes in there, but he's talking about the 21st.
Yeah, it did fail.
I'll make a note to get those corrected.
What's that exception?
Anything else on the minutes? Prior minutes? Is that okay to add that into your motion?
Yes.
Motion by Commissioner Lester Gooden to accept the minutes with item number 10 on the 21st minutes to be refixed. Second by Commissioner Benny Hughes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, likewise. Item number 7 is consideration of approval of the table motion to approve the budget set up for the Board of Education ELC program. Excuse me. Let's back up here 1 minute. Consideration of approval of notaries. I have one. Miss Deanna Blau. Motion to approve.
Second.
By Commissioner Kim Davison, second by Commissioner Mickey McDonald. Roll call, please.
Mickey.
4.
Justin.
For it.
Rod.
For it.
Kim.
4.
Benny.
4.
Robert.
4.
Lester.
4.
Larry.
4.
Julie.
4.
9 for, 1 absent.
9 for, 1 absent. Motion passes for the notaries. Item number 7 now, I'm sorry. Consideration of approval of the table motion to approve the budget set up for the Board of Education ELC program. Anybody want to address anything on that?
Tyler, would you speak to that?
So I actually questioned Christy today on this. This budget will be able to take over paying for the nurses for 1 year. And it actually puts an extra nurse in for a flow nurse, I think is the way I understood it. 2 guidance counselors, I think. And then the building improvements is they're doing some parking lot paving and working on a facility to put in some stuff for some COVID testing for teachers, to have a testing site for teachers. So that's where the building improvements comes in, and the supplies and health equipment that will fall into there, I believe.
Let them do some paving at Clarksville High School and maybe Door to have a better.
So is this a grant?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this a grant?
Mhm.
That's what it is.
So, but the nursing, that was already in their budget. They already had salary budgeted. So this will kick in and cover that. It's already in there.
Well, it wasn't originally in the 141 budget. It was moving to this budget, so the salaries weren't in the rest of their budget. It'll move to this ELC budget for this year. It'll move back next year, the way I understand it. So the general purpose school fund budget will take over paying for the nurses once again next year, the way I understand that.
So this is not just a one-time?
This is a one-time grant.
Okay.
Right, Robert? I mean,
It is.
Will this increase their maintenance of effort level from us if we approve this budget?
no, this is not local revenues.
So it won't add to it, that we have to add to it again next year to match this?
No.
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 Okay.
You talking about on the revenue side?
Yes,
on what
because
we,
whatever we give them this
No.
year, we have to give them next year, so.
right. That's in local funding. This
Okay.
is not local funding
This
paying
is
for this.
just expenditures?
There's a revenue line down there. That's, I think it's federal through state, maybe.
Okay.
But ultimately, I think this runs through GP and it's reimbursed through federal.
Okay.
If I'm understanding right, I spoke with Christy today on it, but it's not local funds paying for it. I believe it's federal through state.
Do we hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Julie Matthews, second by Commissioner Larry Cooper. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mickey,
For.
Justin,
For it.
Rod,
For it.
Kim,
For.
Benny,
For.
Robert,
4.
Lester,
4.
Larry,
4.
Julie,
For.
9 for, 1 absent.
9 for, 1 absent. Item number 8, consideration of approval of Tennessee Comptrollers of the Treasury letter of acknowledgement of receipt and acceptance of the fiscal year 2022 budget. Tyler, would you like to speak to that just for a second?
The only thing they had in there to say about our budget this year was the American Rescue Plan spending, which we were all aware of, that we used to purchase a building for a potential medical facility. We chased every rabbit, and what would happen if the federal government come back and said that wasn't an allowable expense. We know what steps to take next. We know where we're going. Everybody felt comfortable. Even the people at the comptroller's office felt comfortable with that expense. So, but due to the warnings that they're giving of, hey, don't spend this money yet, they put that in our budget letter. But I did speak with Steve Osborne, our consultant, sent him an email Friday or something. But he got back with me, and we will receive a budget certificate this year. They said our budget looked fantastic.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Kim Davison, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robert Cooper. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mickey,
For.
Justin,
For it.
Rod,
For it.
Kim,
4,
Benny,
4.
Robert,
4.
Lester,
4.
Larry,
4.
Julie,
4.
9-4, 1 absent.
9-4, 1 absent. Item number 8 passes. Item number 9, consideration of approval of Resolution 2021-24 to establish a redistricting committee in Fentress County to assist with necessary boundary changes to county legislative districts so that members represent substantially equal populations. Every 10 years, they come back and do this after the census is taken, and you get into redistricting. So I have to appoint a committee, and that committee will consist of our 10 commissioners, Mr. Joey Williams, Mr. Jack Upchurch, Mr. Rod Foy, Miss Leslie Ledbetter. That will be our redistricting committee, and we'll be meeting, those meetings will be set up.
That's not on that resolution. You may want to put them in there.
It's on the updated one.
It's
I
on the
gave
updated
them
one.
all an updated copy.
So it's not online on the resolution. That's what we're looking
And that there will be, what it consists of, since the census, people moved, have got more people in, say, the first district. It needs to be equaled up to the rest of the districts, and the second may have more, may need to come down, and they'll be redistricting the lines through the state of all the legislatures and such, and senators and such, again, that they did 10 years ago. So, do I hear a motion to that effect?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Mickey McDonald, second by Commissioner Julie Matthews. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, likewise. Item number 10, consideration of approval, Resolution 2021-25, establishing minimum standards for the Fentress County Fire Department. Larry, would you like to speak to that just for a second?
The governor a few months ago came out and said that if firefighters would do a minimum standard training for 3 years, then the state would reimburse each fireman that met that criteria $600 for their training for each year. Somehow or another, Fentress County, when we sent a couple of guys to Cookville about 2 months ago for a meeting, somehow or another, Fentress County got opted out. We don't know how, and don't know why. But this is the way to opt us back into the state to allow us to participate in this. Every fireman doesn't have to do it. Doesn't mean they're not going to be a fireman. It's only for the firefighters that want to do it. The goal is within 5 years, the governor wants more certified firefighters. And there's a goal that's set out. If they meet so many, it's got to be 30 hours a year. And then in 5 years, you take the test to pass to be firefighter. And we've met, and enough firemen have shown interest that they want to opt back in it. So we're asking that the county commission allow us to opt back in so we can participate.
Is all your firefighters going to be attending this?
No, it's not going to be all firefighters. It doesn't have to. If you want to do it, you can. It's not a mandatory thing across the state of Tennessee. It's not mandatory. It's just voluntary. We've probably got 80. We've got 93 firefighters, and we'll probably have 45. We'll probably have half this time to start the process.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Benny Hughes to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robert Cooper. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, likewise.
Pass.
Had one to pass. Commissioner Larry Cooper. Item number 11, consideration of approval of resolution 2021-26 to to apply for TEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant for installing emergency sirens in various communities. Mr. James is going to be here tonight, but he's tied up on the situation that we have. And so what this is, he's asking us to apply for a grant through TEMA. And this here is a 25% match, but the state matches half of the 25%, so it'll be a 12.5% for us. This is for a siren system. There'll be 2 put in within the city limits, and there'll be 4 more outside in the county at some other fire stations. They already have one at Park Range. And so there's what it's for. It's a warning system. Yes, And all this is preliminary to see if we can get approved for this. I believe, isn't that correct?
We're down to 2, by the way. The one that we had refurbished and put up at Station 1, it has went down. So the only 2 we have is we have one at Allard and we have one at Clark Range.
And so this will put them in East Jamestown and Double Top area and all the rest of our Mount Healing area and all. Yes, and they'll actually be. I talked with them. I talked with them Friday, and they said it would be to work through 911. We called Richard Cross, and he said it would work through the 911 system. So all they'll have to do is just push the buttons, the code into it, and they'll all go off individually, or they'll all go off all at one time. So that's what that is. So I have a motion by Commissioner Mickey McDonald. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Justin Miller. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mickey,
4.
Justin,
For
Rod,
it.
Kim,
4.
Benny,
4.
Robert,
4.
Lester,
4.
Larry,
4.
Julie,
4.
9-4, 1 absent.
941 absent. Motion passes. Item number 12, consideration of approval of fiscal strength and efficient government fiscal confirmation letter for the 3-star program requirements. Of course, 3-star is one of the major programs that we are involved in. It actually, the chamber usually takes care of this. In the last couple of years they have, or 3 years they've taken care of it. And before, I believe it came through the maybe.
Yeah, in 2015, I think the chamber took over the
Okay.
3-star.
And so it actually, you're just through financials, a few things, and it leads to a lot of more grants and such that we have. If you're a 3-star, rated a 3-star service, so program. So that being said, they have applied this year. We'll be getting, I think it's a $50,000 grant that you can get, and I believe we have applied and received confirmation. The chamber will be getting $21,000. What we'll be getting this year. So it's something that you want to continue to keep doing. Do I have a motion? On all your papers is in here. I'm sure y'all read it, but is there any? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Justin Miller to approve the 3-star. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mickey McDonald. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, likewise. Motion passes. Item number 13. Consideration of approval of the contract with Fast Access to provide medical services at the Fentress County Jail, and also discussion of response from Southern Health Partners in regards to cancellation of their contract as voted on at the June 28th meeting. Tyler or Leslie, you want to just have anything to say to this?
I'll jump in there first. On the Southern Health Partners, our out clause with them is written that we're to give them at least 60 days notice of termination of the contract. There is no clause of non-renewal within that contract. And the original one we have is from, I think, 2011. Each time when we update, they just send us a new price sheet, essentially, with what the services are. There's been no, there's been no additional contract provisions that we have. Now, there's a period of time there that went on that there was could have been some contract that we don't have. But the last one that we know of in 2011 didn't include a non-renewal clause. So they sent us a letter back, and you all can see that says, oh, well, your 60 days termination, although our letter clearly stated to them that we were giving them at least 60 days notice and that we wanted them to understand we just weren't going to renew with them the next year, that to be out on October 31st. I think they were just chapped, so to speak, and they just said, we're going to get our stuff and get out within 60 days of this letter, because you all didn't send us a non-renewal letter. Well, there's nothing in there that says send me a non-renewal letter. It says tell me within 60 days you're out. So basically, they've decided to get out early. And Fast Access has sent us over their contract. Now, I will say Southern Health Partners, and I'm quoting from the sheriff who couldn't be here tonight, did tell him directly that they would make a smooth transition because they wanted an opportunity to come back to Fentress County if we weren't satisfied with Fast Access. They wanted to leave that door open. So that was what they told him verbally. Their contract does provide for a smooth transition of medical records and inmate care, which is, paramount in what we're concerned with here. But we'll see how that works out for us in September. So anyway, Fast Access sent us this contract. They sent it to us Friday afternoon. I reviewed it today after court. I can assure you the sheriff has not had an opportunity to review that today. Candy and I have talked about it this afternoon, Candy being the jail administrator. We've talked about it this afternoon. There was a couple of points she was unclear about and really wanted some confirmation from the sheriff on those. But there's just a few blips, as this is a draft. A few things. Number one, and Tyler and I just looked at this on the 30-day out clause, which is a little bit better written in this contract than it was previously in 2011. But it does say in one section, if the county gives less than 30 days advance written notice, the county agrees to pay them then it says 3 months contract prices and early termination fee. Now, the Southern Health Partners didn't have any of that language about early termination fee or anything else in it, but this particularly, we'll have to fix that. It's either 1 or it's 3. You got to have the correct number, and that's probably negotiable. But as far as pricing, I wasn't involved in the negotiations, so I can't speak to the pricing. But I want you all to be sure if you know about what it is, if that's what you've agreed to, then you should look at that. But Candy was concerned primarily about the per diem. She said that in her understanding, in discussions with him, that the per diem would actually be less than Southern Health Partners. It's the same at 1.42, but she said maybe that's because Southern Health Partners was due to give us a 3% increase, whereas ours will stay the same at 1.42 this year with Fast Access. Does that make sense? But that was a concern. Of course, there are some options here, and if you read the beginning of the contract, it says clearly optional items. So you need to pick on those items. And Larry probably can speak to that. Tyler can speak to that a little more. But I do just want y'all to know going in, if you prove this tonight, the sheriff has not had an opportunity to read that today. We just got it from them late Friday afternoon. Take that into consideration.
Would it not be wise to maybe have a jail committee meeting, let them review this with the sheriff, and we can reconvene on the 26th and pass this one item? Because if they've not had a chance to look at it, the jail administrator's got some concerns about some of the things in it, and we shouldn't pass something that they're not comfortable with.
Well, I would think the sheriff would really want some input on this, because he sat in on the meetings and has been pretty active on this, and just the timing of it. It came late Friday afternoon. I didn't get it till, like I said this morning, didn't read it till after court. Candy's just gotten a break at 5 o'clock tonight to read it. I just feel like we may be rushing into that. We have a little time, obviously, to get it back to them, but
Amanda said she could advertise for jail committee Thursday briefly just to discuss this one item. And if that's all right with the commission, then we can reconvene Monday just to take that up. Because it'd be senseless to pass it without getting everybody's input in it. I'm not on that committee.
This Thursday?
This Thursday?
Yeah, she's gonna try to advertise.
I can
this
advertise
week.
it in the morning. Yes.
And then we'll let the
Then-
jail committee and the sheriff come back Monday and say, hey, we want these provisions changed, and send it in if they'll change
And I'll get
them, then we'll-
clarification on that out clause, 1 month or 3 months between now and then.
So a sheriff and jail committee on Thursday, what time? At 5 p.m. and then we're going to reconvene on Monday. I'll get those advertised.
We'll reconvene at 5:30. You want to wait till 6? 6 is better.
Is that a motion or?
Take no action tonight.
Item number 14. Consideration of approval of the Fentress County Safer at Home. Becky, would you like to speak to that, please?
So I think back in April when we did our last Safer at Home policy update, the American Rescue Plan had offered leave until September 30th. I think Larry made the motion to say leave for COVID would end on June 30th. We have had COVID back in our employment population where people are being quarantined again or have tested positive and they've gone home. So we wanted to bring it back to the commission to see if they wanted to extend the date to September 30th or if they wanted to leave the date as June 30th, and anybody who is now sick would be out on their own time rather than being given the COVID leave that we've given up until June 30th.
We were at 0 and we're back up to 14 now, I believe. And then I think we've had some in the some of our county offices also at the Justice Center that's come through. I think we've got like 3 or 4 so far or something possibly. I don't know for sure. But that's what that's what that's about, correct?
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we take no action. Everybody needs to get the shot. That wants it.
Has the quarantine time changed any in the update?
No, if somebody's been exposed, they are to go home for 10 days. If they don't get tested, if there's no symptoms, they can come back on day 11. Otherwise, if you're tested, you can be tested between day 5 and day 7 of last known exposure. And if it's negative, you can come back on day 8.
Any more discussion on this?
Yeah.
Motion by Commissioner Benny Hughes. Take no action on this. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Motion been made by Commissioner Larry Cooper to second the motion. Take no action on it this time. Is there any more discussion from anyone?
My question is, is it kind of like, would it be kind of like an unemployment benefit for them? Is that what this is, or is it, what is it?
No, it's just like it was before, when it was mandatory, and the mandate stopped. And what did we say a minute ago?
We
You
let
just
them,
pay them like they were be here, whether they're at work or not.
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
So it's kind of
without
like
having to use their own personal
Without having to
time.
use
Yeah,
their own
without it,
personal
they
time.
burn their own time. That's,
But the county would be paying them to be off because it's something they can't help, correct?
no, they just be using their, like, comp time or whatever.
Oh, so they would be able to,
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they limited to a certain amount of hours, or is it if they get positive twice within 3 months, then they get
So it was just the one set allotted time.
one
Is
10-day period?
Yep. After that, if they get sick again, if they're quarantined and they take it, and then they get sick later, they have to use their own personal time. But the law in April did reset. So if they were sick last fall, their time was reset.
You actually have had some that's taken the vaccine that actually had COVID and then also took the vaccine, and they have contracted it again.
But are not nearly as symptomatic, and some
Yes.
are not asymptomatic.
Any more discussion?
The only issue I can say is you may have a potential work comp claim or two of people that known exposure was through county employment. Just beware of that.
Yeah, from an employee standpoint is there could potentially be people coming in contact with this while they're at work, whether we pay them or not. I don't know. I mean, I'll be straight up. I had it. I went home. We're set up to work remotely within the finance office. I worked the entire time that I was at home. I wasn't that sick with it when I had it back in the fall. And
Work comp would be separate from the American Rescue Plan.
That's
correct?
correct.
Yes.
And what I'm saying is that
Right.
may very well come up
That would be under.
from known exposures that are happening
this would pay
clearly at work.
This would just pay somebody if they came in contact.
Their child brought it home from school.
If you're waiting on testing, things of that nature, I mean, you can't come back to work. If you've been in known contact, you can't come back to work, and you may have to wait on test results for 3 or 4 days. So you're having to sit at home and having to use your time to sit at home while you're waiting on a test to come back. I know that we've had one that had some time waiting on getting his test back, and so he had to use his own time. In this case, had to use his own time waiting on his test results to come back, and he couldn't come back to work in that time.
The American Rescue Plan pays 100% of what they make, correct? Workman's comp does not. It's at a percentage.
What if the people that have it don't have the time built up to get the pay?
They would not receive pay.
I
Their
think
pay
it
would be
unfair to
cut back.
them.
The only way that they would
Okay.
receive pay is if somebody donated time.
Yeah.
I think by having it, it does encourage employees who are sick or who have been known exposure to at least inform us, because they'll go home rather than if they know they're gonna have to take off and go home and use their own time, they're more apt to not say anything and come on to work.
What's your recommendation?
That's completely up to you all. I just want you to be aware that we have had some clearly known exposures from work with no other contact outside of, and you know, that's something that I do think we absolutely have to cover. We'll be covering it at 66 2/3% of their pay, but you'll also be covering their testing, which, you know, not all the testing anymore is free, and I don't know if everybody realizes that, but I do think you all at least need to cover to test your employees, because like Becky said, if you don't encourage them to get tested in some manner, we've already had an outbreak, and it's clear that it's, as of today, it's moving along pretty rapidly on some things that were, you know, we had 300 people in court on Monday, and that's not an exaggeration. The next day we had 125. So, you know, in the Justice Center itself, we had that many people plus all the people that work there.
Did the judge recommend kit testing?
Judge
Sexton?
Judge Sexton. Well, they canceled. He made everyone who was a potential exposure get tested in some manner on Wednesday or Thursday. And that's how we know we have some additional positives. Because, you know, we had grand jury scheduled, and that's been canceled and has moved till this Friday, and we still don't have an update on that. Just kind of see where we're at by Friday. So, you're gonna have, you at least need to cover their testing, whether you pay them for being off, waiting on the results or not. And some people, you know, weren't scheduled to work during that period of time, so you never know. I can't speak to that, but I do think you're gonna have some comp exposure there.
Becky, is this program still extended by the feds?
Well, it extended to September 30th. It's not been extended since the initial American Rescue Plan. The American Rescue Plan set their extension dates for this leave to September 30th. When we brought it to you, we asked for September 30th, and it was backed up to the end of our fiscal year.
So we could run this till September 30th and not cost us anything?
Cost you your pay. The only thing that we're going to get reimbursed, if Tyler would want to work on it, would be a portion of Social Security and Medicare. Is that right? Tyler, do you remember what part of it we were able to refund?
A portion of it. But now, the ones we've had in the past, it's not a significant amount. Not to my knowledge, we discussed it. It wasn't a significant amount to go through the reporting and paperwork.
So it would cost the county a lot less money through this program than if we deleted it and went on the workman comp side of it?
You're not going to feel the workman's comp side of it unless it's through premiums. But I will tell you, I have got hundreds of exposure papers that we have filed for EMS. Because it may be 2 to 4 years from now that something might come up, and we need record of their exposure from just picking somebody up and transporting them. That's a known exposure. Any known exposure within the county over the last year, we have filed, that's come through my office, we have filed a short form so that ASC has record of it. In case something comes of it.
On notice, in case there is a complication later on. Simply notice. But y'all had the opportunity, I think what she's saying is that y'all had the opportunity to extend this to September 30th back in March, maybe?
March or April.
So we were way down on our cases. And so your vote was to extend it only through this fiscal year, which of course ended
June 30th.
A few weeks ago. Now we've had a uptick. I think just prudent to revisit that to determine how you want to handle it. We may have no more cases. I mean, the real wood to knock on, but it's just been a pretty rough week.
We've had a motion made and second. Any more discussion? No,
Take
take
no
no
action.
action. Roll call, please.
Mickey,
Against.
Justin,
Against.
Rod,
Against.
Kim,
Against.
Benny,
Can I vote against too?
Robert,
Against.
Lester,
Against.
Larry,
For.
Julie,
Against.
8 against, 1 for, and 1 pass, or 1 absent.
Do you want to make a motion to reinstate?
I make a motion to extend it till September, 30th?
30th.
And I'll second it.
Motion made by Commissioner Benny Hughes to extend this until the end of September. Seconded by Commissioner Lester Gooding. Any further discussion?
That's why we need work sessions.
I will tell you, we
In the
have
middle of one.
very good controls so that people don't take advantage of this. We make them provide us with documentation from the health department or wherever that they have been tested, just to ensure, and we track things.
And I will agree with that. I think we've not had any issues come to light that people have been just going to get tested for the sake of staying home. For the most part, people want to be at work and would much rather be at work than at home awaiting a COVID test.
So the only other question I would have is, would you want to backdate that to July 1st? Or do you want to go from today? Since we have had illnesses through, starting, it actually came right after the 4th of July, is when we first started getting
Yes, I would like
notices.
to amend that to July 1st, please.
think what happens when we reinstate this, the key to controlling this is quarantine and keeping people from spreading it. And if you take away this, you're kind of forcing people, especially with limited leave amounts, to work when maybe they shouldn't be working, or they're not going to report an exposure. They're just not going to tell you. So I think having this in place kind of gives us an insurance policy that we won't spread it to more people, and that's key. Just trying to keep it under control. So I think just in doing that and encouraging people to, because it's getting better. We're seeing that it's getting better, and like Leslie said, we've kind of had a little backset, and hopefully we can work through that. And just remind people it's still there. We need to still be cautious, and watch. So,
Commissioner Hughes wants it to also say back till July 1st. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mickey,
Four.
Justin,
For it.
Rod,
For it.
Kim,
4.
Benny,
4.
Robert,
4.
Lester,
4.
Larry,
Against.
Julie.
4.
8-4, 1 against, 1 absent.
4, 1 against, 1 absent. Motion passes. Next, we get into consideration of approval of following budget amendments. Mr. Jason Gasper, would you like to come up and explain about your front loader truck? The bottom's falling out of it, and what model is it?
It's 2010. We're having nothing but problems out of it. Our mechanic says that it's showing a black streak down the side. That truck's not supposed to do that, and once it does that, you're on borrowed time with that truck. And if we go down on our front loader truck, we're in trouble. And our backup one's out of commission because the frame is crushing under itself. You can't use it. It's beyond repairs.
Will this be used for your backup now?
The one that we're using now will probably actually be backup, and the one I'm looking for will be our main truck.
Is this a new one?
It's not a new one, no.
Refurbished?
The one I'm looking for is a Pete instead of a Mac, and it's going to be either a regen, or something well after like a 14 or something that they've got the problem fixed. Because that's been our main problem, has been the regen in this truck. And other trucks that this model has caught on fire. And I'd like to get out of it, prevent that from happening if we can.
So you're also going to ask for some type of warranty possibly?
If I can, yeah. I'm going to try to get the best deal I can for the money.
We're going to bid this, or you already bid it?
Well, what he's looking at right now is used.
So you don't have to bid?
If we can find a national publication that gives us a value to be able to purchase it by. If not, then yeah, we'll be in a bid process. But
Chairman,
What's the new one run?
$300,000 to $400,000.
Yeah.
He's been searching. He comes up and finds some used ones. When by the time he comes and talks to me about them, we start trying to look. It's gone.
They don't last
So
long.
this is basically like an allowance. He's found some significantly cheaper than this, right, Jason? But
yes. Yeah.
Just not having the money budgeted, being able to say, to go pick it up. If he finds one for $120,000, he doesn't have the money there. He would have to come here and ask. This is more like an allowance.
Yeah.
To spend up to.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we allow them to do this budget amendment to purchase a front-end loader.
Motion made by Commissioner Larry Cooper to allow this movement.
170.
Yes, 170. And seconded by Commissioner Lester Gooding. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mickey,
4.
Justin,
For it.
Rod,
For it.
Kim,
4.
Benny,
4.
Robert,
4.
Lester,
4.
Larry,
4.
Julie.
4.
9-4, 1 absent.
9-4, and 1 absent. First one passes. The second one is Fentress County Ag Pavilion in the amount of $225,000. Tyler?
This is to purchase the land that we've accepted the bid on for the Ag Pavilion. As of right now, we've not issued debt on this yet. This is something that we'll discuss in a few minutes, but can be replaced back into our fund balance with debt proceeds once debt's issued for the Ag Pavilion.
Has it been surveyed?
Yes.
I've seen some markers out there, so I believe it has been
We
surveyed.
have to survey. We're just waiting. We actually got the deed drawn up. We just don't have a closing date. Waiting on the money to move.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lester Gooding to approve, second by Commissioner Robert Cooper. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mickey,
For.
Justin,
For it.
Rod,
Against.
Kim,
For.
Benny,
4.
Robert,
4.
Lester,
4.
Larry,
4.
Julie.
4.
8 for, 1 against, 1 absent.
Motion passes 8-4, 1 against, and 1 absent. Second movement is senior center in the amount of $6,201.32. Tyler, is that just?
This is, so at the end of the year, they have their donation money, and that carries over. When I brought that final budget, usually I look at it right before I bring it to you all to put that line item in there and make everybody aware, but I forgot to do that this time. This will put their donation line to what it should be to carry, because they put those donations in every month and they spend out of it. So this is what their donation lines should be.
This is what it should start out at,
This is what it would start out, yeah.
and then add to.
Yep.
I hear a motion.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Commissioner Justin Miller, seconded by Commissioner Larry Cooper. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mickey,
4.
Justin,
For it.
Rod,
For it.
Kim,
For.
Benny,
4.
Robert,
4.
Lester,
4.
Larry,
4.
Julie.
4.
9 for, 1 absent.
9-4, 1 absent. The next one, item number 4, senior center in the amount of $175. So this is probably just donations.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Justin Miller to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robert Cooper. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mickey, Justin,
For it.
Rod,
For it.
Kim,
For.
Benny,
4.
Robert,
4.
Lester,
4.
Larry,
4.
Julie.
4.
9 for, 1 absent.
9-4, 1 absent. Motion passes. Senior Center also, item number 5, in the amount of $4,096.
I put on there, Alice Kirby will be present to present this, and she is not here. I'll tell you what she's asking for. I can't give the argument as to why she needs it or anything along those lines. That's why I requested that she be here. But Ronald, one of her custodial staff, she's asking that he be allowed to work 5.5 hours per day instead of 4.
Why would this not be requested during budget process time?
I received a call the other day that she wanted to ask for him to, since they've opened back up, ask for him to be able to work an extra 1.5 hours a day on some days. So you budget it for every day, but this would be the increase for it. I told her I would put the budget amendment in, but she had to be here to present it. She may have spoke with Jimmy about it. I'm not sure, but
She did ask
present.
me about it. I told her she would need to check with Tyler about it, see if the money's there to support it.
Well, it's not. That's going to come out of fund balance.
She could potentially take it from somewhere else in her budget, but I mean, at this early in the budget, you know what I mean? You don't ever know, really.
But if you had an employee that you wanted to work more hours, and we just went through a 3 or 4 month process on the budget, and it was never mentioned in those 3 or 4 months.
I told her to be here to argue it.
Well, they wouldn't necessarily open full capacity like they are now. Then
She was prior.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
but they wasn't going to be closed forever, and we knew that.
yeah, but you don't. I mean, now that they've opened back up, they're doing a lot more cleaning. They're doing a lot more stuff that they have to do now because there's people coming in and out of the building a lot more than they were then. You know, they were shut down for over a year.
He was.
I mean, yes, he was working then, but he's not. I mean, I'm just saying, there's a lot more stuff going on now than there was when we started talking about the budget.
Do they have a lot more people attending now than they did before the COVID shutdown?
Though now,
They're having roughly average of 80 people a day.
I said I wouldn't argue this. I'll tell you what she told me is they are having more cleaning due to COVID guidelines. Like more cleaning on the tables, more cleaning stuff. I mean, than they were before COVID shut down. But I think that they're probably around the same numbers.
Same number of people, but they're
Before.
doing extras. They're having to do extra work, you know. Somebody moved it up, moved from the table, they cleaned it up. Yep.
They're the only population.
We're going by the CDC guidelines that come from the state of Tennessee, and that's what we're
People
doing.
are good.
That's what they're doing up there.
How long will they be able to stay open if
They
COVID's
open
going back
July
up?
the 1st.
I know, but with COVID going back up.
How long can they? Till I'm sure they'll call us from UCDD and say you can't do this any longer.
And we can make that decision on our own, right? If we see Fentress County has a severe uptick, we could choose to
yes.
close down on-site
Yeah.
dining.
Yep.
Yeah.
Executive order.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve this. Just see where.
Motion was made by Commissioner Justin Miller to approve item number 5. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Lester Gooding. Any more discussion?
I have a question. They did have an employee there that was helping. I think it was through the COVID money. Is he still there?
He'll be there until the end of December, and I think that it runs out. His monies, they run out in December.
I have heard that he may be leaving in the next month or two to go to school. I've not heard anything recently though.
So he'll be gone, there won't be one replacement. No, because they've pulled back the extra money because the money that was in the Upper Cumberland, we're using more of it than anyone, and the rest weren't using it. Well, some of them weren't, but half of them weren't using it, so they pulled some funds back out, put it elsewhere, because it wouldn't get used.
So we're losing custodial help. Correct.
Due to the COVID, he was here for the COVID. He was here during the COVID pandemic, and they was letting him work through workforce development. And that money was to be for possibility of 2 years, but they're pulling it out in December.
He will be here through December.
Yeah, he worked, I think, 4 or 5 hours a day. That gentleman did. Any further discussion?
We can represent this again. I mean, right? I mean, this can come back up again.
Yeah, I asked that Alice be here to present this
I know.
because I wasn't fighting her battles over
Is it-
wages for her.
Like,
Yeah.
wish she was here.
She
Yeah,
needs
but
to
that's-
sell it.
Seems like it's fell by the wayside. I mean.
We've got to vote on it. Question been called for. Roll call, please.
Mickey? Justin?
For it.
Rod?
Pass.
Kim?
Pass.
Benny?
Against only because she's not here to present it.
Robert?
For it.
Lester?
For.
Larry?
Pass.
Julie?
Pass.
5 pass, 3 for, 1 against, 1 absent.
Motion fails. Item number 6, emergency medical services in the amount of $7,907. This here is moving the line item for your EMS director from where it is at 53 to 60. It is Mr. Tony Maxwell, the gentleman that was from Salina. The one, yeah, he was worth, Overland County. Well, Overland County, he's on the borderline. He's on the line, Overland County, Clay County. He's the one that was at the end that worked for Life Flight and with Overland County also.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion was made by Commissioner Lester Gooding and seconded by Commissioner Robert Cooper. Any further discussion? This was brought forward at the budget meeting last Thursday. Not was it? It was brought up at the last budget meeting we had. There was.
Has it been 2 Thursdays ago?
That's 2 Thursdays ago, I guess.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have money to give the ambulance service a raise, but we have money to give the new director a raise, who doesn't live in Fentress County,
Well,
who is not moving to Fentress County, who pays no taxes here or anything.
Well, we didn't have them falling out of the sky to help us. Nobody from Fentress County. Well, we did have one to put in. Wanted $95,000 a year. So it's
So what will this bring the current salary up to?
just what I said a moment ago. 60. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. That's what it will bring. So we're at the point where we don't have an ambulance director. We've got to have an ambulance director, and no one in the county wants to take the job as an ambulance director. And the state is, I'm not going to say they're all over us. They are asking that we get one appointed. We went through this for how many months now? Have we went through this? 3 months?
And the position comes in with probation. It's a probation.
It's a 1 year probation. Yes, it
probation.
is. Yep. And this was brought up at the budget meeting. This was brought up at the budget meeting 2 weeks ago, Thursday night, and there was just 6 of us there. There was just 6 there. It was brought up during that time.
I mean, it's even limiting at $60,000. I mean, you limit yourself at that because a lot of people, what they do, I mean, the salary's not phenomenal, but they, on their 7 days off, they'll pick up other work. So when you do that and combine with the salary they're making, most of them are making more than 60. So it's real hard to convince somebody to come off a truck and be a director 5 days a week, which takes away their second job. They can't pick up another job on their 7 days off. So that's why we were presented with a limited audience, because most people, again, it's not that they were making more than that on one job, but most of them had 2 jobs. And so when you go to 5 days a week, you've taken that from them and you're just saying this is your flat out salary. You're not getting overtime. You know, we don't know how many hours you're going to work. So you limit your audience. It's just how it is.
And what you passed on the on-call pay, $30 per day, that there is actually helped bring in a lot of work. And the PRN, the 50 and 100 that y'all passed, as far as extra money to them, that there has also brought, correct Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong on that, it has a substantial amount for the people that are working there and are picking up extra shifts and that want to work.
So we've relieved some of the strain.
So since rumors has gotten around that we're hiring an extra, that we're possibly trying to hire ambulance director, we've picked up, we have 2 now. He would make 3 more paramedics, and we have 2 paramedics who are wanting to work part-time. So right there, so we went from needing 4 to where we got the possibility of having 5. So
we're moving forward. We're moving forward a little bit.
Yes, okay. And this gentleman here, he's making right now around $90,000 a year with what he's doing, but he's willing to come on and take it for this and help try to turn the ambulance service back around where it was at one time. But now the vote's up to y'all. It's a move line item, it's not to me.
Now, to my understanding, he's also bringing maybe 1 or 2 with him.
There's a possibility that he knows some people that might come up here to work.
Question.
Question being called for, roll call vote.
Mickey. Justin.
For it.
Rod.
For it.
Kim.
For.
Benny.
4.
Robert,
4.
Lester,
4.
Larry,
4.
Julie.
4.
8-4, 1 pass, 1 absent.
8-4, 1 pass, 1 absent. And just as a courtesy confirmation, I would like to have, be able to appoint Tony Maxwell as our next ambulance director.
Make the motion.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Lester Gooden to appoint. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robert Cooper. Any more discussion?
When will he start?
1st of August. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mickey, Justin,
For it.
Rod,
For it.
Kim,
4.
Benny,
4.
Robert,
4.
Lester,
4.
Larry,
4.
Julie.
4.
9-4, 1 absent.
9-4, 1 absent. Motion passes. Number 17, consideration of approval of rejecting the Turner Roofing contract for the health department. This here was supposed to have been done by June 30th. No work got done on it. And so we have sent them a letter. And Tyler, would you like to say anything else to that, or Leslie, either one?
Well, Alan Hill had contacted us and said we need to formally void the contract simply because what we had talked about previously was just, and in the letter is just that they didn't perform under the contract, but we need to actually cancel it out, so to speak, through a motion and on the record here today. Turner Roofing sent us a letter back and said, please, oh please, don't throw us out, but they were well aware that the money ran out on June 30th, and they'd done nothing. There'd been no materials delivered. There'd been somebody on site maybe once in 4 or 5 months. They had a lot of other projects going. Like I said, they just bit off more than they can chew at the time. But if we had waited and said, okay, sure, the money would have gone away and we'd have to pay for it out of fund balance. So here we are. We just need to void that contract and know that next time we take in bids, if we get money back next year, which the state is looking to try and put that money back in the health department budget, which wouldn't be a grant, it would be directly in the health department budget. But we'd have to approve that, of course, owning the building. But if that's the case, just know when you bid it next year, get somebody who's actually going to show up and do the work.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we void the contract with Turner Roofing due to the fact that they did not fulfill their obligations.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Larry Cooper, second by Commissioner Mickey McDonald. Any further discussion?
There's also, they complained about another contractor not letting them do any work. I mean,
That's the first any of us had heard of that. Alan Hill, our engineers.
yeah, I mean, it's like there should be a line of complaints somewhere, don't it? I mean,
And again, we had one of
somebody's
the
not
drive
let you
things
work.
on record for a period of time
Yeah.
there.
You're bound by a contract. I'd be calling somebody when you try to work.
That
Oh, well.
letter is dated 2/7/28 of 2021. Did you notice that?
Yeah,
7,
that's
28, 29.
obviously a typo on there. But
It wasn't even written in June 28th, though, because we didn't notify them until July 1. I don't know.
Typo.
That out.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mickey, Justin,
For it.
Rod,
For it.
Kim,
4.
Benny,
4.
Robert,
4.
Lester,
4.
Larry,
4.
Julie.
4.
9-4, 1 absent.
Motion passes 9-4 and 1 absent. Our next on the agenda is discussion of debt issuance with John Werner of Cumberland Securities. Tyler, would you like to introduce John there?
John's more than welcome to step up. We've discussed this. It's what we called the budget meeting 2 weeks ago. Said we'd set another meeting to discuss it. John was going to head up here tonight. We put it on here to see where we're at with it and what we need to do. The discussion we talked about in the meeting that night was the highway debt. That's a portion of this. So there's 2 sections of this debt. There's a few different options in how we've talked about issuing it. I think we turned away from issuing it through a bond issuance. We were looking at capital outlay notes to go on a 12-year. John may want to take over and explain what he's got here in this proposal that I've attached, but we sort of, the only rush to this is such as tonight we just approved money to purchase the land out there. Now, we've also approved the bids to start this project, and we're waiting on a notice to proceed. Of course, we have to have the land purchased. If we start proceeding with our contract on building this facility without our debt issuance, so the longer we push this out, the more fund balance we're going to have to hit in order to replenish. I don't want to get us in a position where we've hit our fund balance significantly or our cash flow significantly, leading up to the time we start receiving property taxes. So it's something that, yeah, anything in government's slow, but this is something that we kind of have to act on because it is a process. This does have to go to the state for approval. There's resolutions that have to be passed, which John will get through Basbury and Sims, and we'll pass those once we decide exactly what we're going to do. You might have any questions on the debt, anything that needs to be discussed on the debt. And my major concern, and I talked with Barb the other day. I went by and I sent her over the payment amount. My major concern is when you look at this from a budget standpoint, from the budget we passed for the highway department last year, they can't afford a $150,000 a year payment. From the budget we passed, and what they budgeted into the red, my concern is that they might run into a cash flow issue for the reason of if an emergency comes up, a FEMA emergency comes up, that's reimbursed money. So you've got to have the cash flow there to be able to pay that to get reimbursed. I don't want to run into a position with our highway department that we have a cash flow issue. We're issuing this debt on the taxing power of the county. So, the only feasible way is if they run into a cash flow, it's got to be paid. You might have any questions for Barb's here, Joey's here, John's here.
So roughly $150,000 payment is what they're on that.
The highway portion?
Yeah.
Roughly 143.
It's on how many years?
12.
12 years.
What is of course, we don't have the budgets in front of us, Tyler. Do you have the highways? What's their projected fund balance at the end of this next year?
So what we sent in based off of early predictions.
Of course, it's just predictions because
there'll still be receivables to come in on top of this. Okay, right. So what we're showing an estimated ending fund balance of 414. I'm going to say that's probably going to be up around 500, a little over. I mean, I'm sure there'll be $100,000 or more in receivables to come in. That budget was $268,000 in the red for this fiscal year we're working, that we just started, leaving an ending fund balance of roughly probably around $200,000 before this debt payment, $200 to $225. So then you take $150,000 off that. I don't think that the state would approve a budget with a fund balance, an estimated ending fund balance lower than $100,000. I mean, we had a nightmare last year out of 141 because they hit theirs and dropped it down to $300,000, which is significant. And Board of Ed has some different rules to do with their fund balance policies and things, a 3% rule, and so. But that'd be a significant hit to what this budget is comparative.
So you're saying if they took on this debt here, we had equipment issues or anything like that, we'd be a problem?
Well, I mean, there's going to be equipment purchases you're going to have to make. There's going to be maintenance you're going to have to do. And there's going to be a disaster that hits within the next 12 years. There's going to be something that comes up within the next 12 years. Now, granted, they may be in better financial shape as they go forward and be able to build, but that is my concern. Now, Joy may have a response to any of that, or Barbara may have a response to any of that, but that's truly my concern. Okay, and that's my concern is the money. I know everybody needs the road paved, and we need all of our roads upgraded. I won't argue that one bit, but my concern is the cash flow. Being able to afford the payment.
How many roads are going to be,
We had that list at last month's meeting, and I can't, how many roads do you have on there, Joey?
That's,
we had it at last month's meeting. I didn't bring it back to this month, but it's all
30, 40.
I was thinking more like 20.
probably about 20 roads was on that list.
And there's different lengths, different.
how many miles of road? How many miles of road we talking about?
Joey, I'm sure you prioritize the roads, like what you're going after, the ones that need it the most, and I know that's what you're doing. Is there a way, like, in that list that you could put some of those even at a higher priority? Like if we didn't do the whole 1.5, if you did like a certain, like a lesser amount that was a little easier on the fund balance, the payment was probably a little more manageable. I mean, is it easy? I mean, can you pick from that list and say, I've got to do these roads or something? I mean, I know you want to do all of them. We want you to do all of them and probably a lot more, but
It's just shy of 40 miles of road, upgraded in some form or another. So that's saying some are gravel to tar and chip, some are tar and chip to cold mix, some are tar and chip to asphalt. But it's just shy of 40 miles of road. There's probably more than 20 roads on here.
What are we needing to tell Mr. Warner tonight? What are you needing the commission? I guess I could ask you. You're needing some type of direction in which way to go.
That would be ideal because we'd like to have a resolution that's a little bit more focused on the project or the projects that need to be had, not by name, but just by dollar amount and to what extent they wish to proceed for the sale. If everything is below $2 million, and I'm talking about for doing this, then we can proceed with a negotiated sale, but it looks like it's going to be north of $2 million just for what the county would need to have by itself, and that would be a competitive public sale because those processes, particularly when it comes down to preparation, advertising, and that sort of thing, to be consistent with Tennessee Code Annotated, requires a different set of things that we need to do on our end as your municipal advisor. And then I will have a couple other questions once we kind of get to that point.
I think Kim asked Joey if there was some way that he could maybe narrow that road list down some. We can give him direction on our part, but until Joey can or cannot do that, of course we're reconvening again next Monday.
I think the bind on it was we were looking at issuing this debt together, separating out the debt portion. And are we? This still what we're looking at, John? Or are we looking at?
No, I think that's your best. I think that's your best alternative is to be able to issue everything as one.
So it's going to be issued as one debt issuance,
yes,
one
sir,
resolution.
That is correct.
We'll just split that
but
up.
We got to have that part. We got to have the highway part. Whether we're going to, he's going to say, yeah, no, we need 1.5 million, or hey, let's come back with $750,000. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
We know what our part is.
Absolutely.
We've just got, if he can negotiate on his road list, give him a day or two, say, yeah, let's prioritize these. Do what? You don't think you need to go any lower than that? just have a decision to make.
Roy, do you believe you would have the cash flow, you think, to make the payment, or just Barb, you got anything to say to that? What would that come to? What would that come to a month?
About $12,000 a month, roughly. Maybe a little different based on interest monthly if you were to pay that, or, you know, 12,000.
This is over 12 years?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
I think, like Tyler said, the only thing that we need to consider is that, and I'm not opposing it, Joe. I'm just stating fact. Within the next 12 years, there will be something that happens, whether it's an ice storm, it's a tornado, it's a huge snow. If we issue this debt for the highway department, and they have something that they can't make their payments, Fentress County government has to pay those payments because it is in Fentress County's name, not the highway department. It is backed by Fentress County government, not Fentress County Highway Department, because they have no taxing authority.
I.e., Fentress County taxpayers.
Correct.
I went off this year's fuel tax.
Not gas tax, taxpayers.
There's a difference.
Down about 3,000. Well, we've not received our last payment, which will come in next. So I don't have receivables put in yet.
Joy, do you have any idea on potential infrastructure money that's going to be coming down from the feds? Just other promises?
Intent.
Nothing for road.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so Tyler, I have a question. So if we do approve this, and then we put that payment in their budget, and then we send that in, and they say, sorry, can't do it.
Cash flows will have to be made and sent to the comptroller before they will approve this debt anyways. Right, John? I mean, anytime you use a debt issuance, you've got to send cash flows in with it, or I have on the ones I've issued in the past.
Right, and what we'll do here is once we have the resolution passed and it has to be certified, then we'll send that in with the funding plan, and then we'll also break it out between the part that's going to be supported by the county proper and the rest by the road department. And then I'm sure there'll be some questions at that point, but quite frankly, I don't know about what will be the prerogative of the comptroller, and I'm a little anxious to speak on his behalf.
Could we do a preliminary thing to the comptroller's office before we spend money to borrow money?
I don't know. I've never really heard of that.
Hey, I'm not familiar with a hypothetical. We'd be glad to do it for you.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking. We've never done that before. But if it's cash flow problem, you know, that could save us several $1,000s. Say, hey, I really don't know. I wouldn't advise. They may or may not, and they may send something back. Well, no, we don't. You just send it to us in an official capacity, and then we say yay or nay. But they may say, under the special circumstances.
And how much you can have in a practice run? You know?
Yeah, you know, I'm going to say, hypothetically speaking, if we were to issue $1.5 million, no, I mean, I don't know. I've never done that before, but like I said, I'd be glad to do that.
Typically,
and I think rather than send this to the director of state and local government, I think we could just send it maybe to your
consultant.
Yeah, that's right, the one who usually does your work in Nashville, and let them kind of run it up the flagpole.
Yeah, I mean, typically, and John may see this more. A lot of times in the state of Tennessee, they're probably not going to say no. You can't borrow this money if you have a reason to borrow this money for a capital improvement, because we're borrowing this money based on the taxing power. So what they're looking at is you have the taxing power to increase taxes if this cannot be paid for.
Well, I think the argument that you made earlier about can a particular budget support this? Because they won't tell you what you can't spend. You have unlimited ability to pay that back through the taxing power of the county. But I think the question is, can a certain segment of government support this? That might be a question that might come up out of the conversation. And I don't. Again, I've never done this before.
In a nutshell, what they'll tell you is,
If you want to back it, borrow it.
yeah,
You will be backing it.
if just know that you're going to have to pay for it, however it comes to it.
That's not a good answer.
Well, when you issue debt, that's what you're saying is your county could run into all kinds of disasters that you end up with an issue with fund balance and cash flow. We could with the Ag Pavilion just as easy. I mean, it's not as likely, but just as easy. And when you issue that debt, you're saying it's our obligation. We will pay that. Yep. We're issuing it based on the taxing power of Fentress County to tax their citizens at a property tax rate. And we can increase that. It would be wise. If you see that, you're typically not going to run into that cash flow issue year one. You're going to see your issues coming ahead of time if you're watching, and you're going to be expected to increase that tax rate or increase a way of funding it, which your main source is property tax rate, okay? To increase that to pay this debt. I mean, that's any debt. I'm not just talking this highway debt. I'm talking debt. That's how we work. We borrow based on the taxing power of the county and the citizens and our tax base, and we could increase taxes. I mean, yeah, they want to see us be able to pay that debt without having to send a tax increase.
And the other idea too is, well, what if we just did revenue only for the road department? And I would be concerned if the county would be able to even get a bid for just revenue only. And the other thing is too is even if they came up to a financial shortfall and they wanted not to pay the debt, they said we don't have the money, we can't pay the debt. I don't think the state's going to give you that option, and they'll be turning back to the county to support this, one way or the other, because it's although the the superintendent has an awful lot to say about what his budget is, at the end of the day, it's this body that approves that budget and approves any amendments thereafter. And again, please take that into consideration also.
I have a question. Mm-hmm. If, for instance, Joey decides next time that he's had it with the county and doesn't run again, and doesn't get reelected, the next supervisor, would they have the option to just say, "Hey, that's not my debt, I'm not paying"?
No, ma'am.
No.
No,
they would have to. There's no way around it.
That's correct.
The county commission would have taken on that liability, which ultimately, like he said, you passed the budget. So, and whatever county commission comes after will be required to pass that debt payment into that budget, or appropriate that money into that budget for that debt payment. And if the money is not there to appropriate that, that's where it's going to fall back.
They will come back to the county and look for payment.
I'm not opposed to the debt issuance whatsoever. My concern in my job is to look out for the monetary health of Fentress County, in a sense. So, I mean, my job is to make sure not just the general fund, not just solid waste, but every single fund, including the school board. I mean, this is the first year that I've done it, but I worked directly with them this year on their budget, and we worked hard on that budget. The highway department's no different. We've issued debt for them in the past, and they're about to pay that off. It was significantly lower debt, but since I've been here. But that's my job, is to watch and be concerned with that. Okay, it may never happen. It may soar. People may take off and start traveling. That gas tax may shoot up. It may be to no end. But
COVID could hit, and
that's speculation.
Again.
Something I don't understand is you're going to work on a road and finance it for 12 years. So, I mean, kind of like buying Christmas gifts, Christmas and paint it off for the next 3 or 4 years. What happens next Christmas? I mean, that's the problem I got with it.
How much is in your budget, though? You have money in your budget every year to do highway improvements and road improvements. And so how much have you spent already this year on, like, roads? Paving, tar and chipping and stuff? On hot mix. So you have an ongoing annual budget that allows, but, so what's happened, I guess we've just got behind, like, the roads are tearing up, getting worse, more than we got money. Right. How are you on equipment? Are you pretty good? Are you seeing some big purchases on that coming in?
Well, my issue with this thing is that I think we need roads. We need to, I mean, that's the problem. But my main issue is not the 1.5 million, it's the 2 million. We had a $150,000 grant presented to us 3 years ago or 4 years ago for $150,000 for an ag pavilion that's costing us $2 million to get a $150,000 grant. There's where I'm at.
If you'd built it a year ago, it'd been half as much.
But that wasn't the way it was presented at the beginning. That wasn't the way it was presented at the beginning. I don't know.
Can we let him do his presentation so he doesn't have to sit here through all this?
That's okay. This
is all right.
This is what I do.
Well, this debt thing with the highway department, it was brought up earlier that we're reconvening Monday. Can we get additional information, or is there any additional information that we're needing, or
whatever?
I mean, I would like to see this brought to a head soon, myself, but I mean, I'm sure a lot of other people would too. But
so if you do all these roads now, how much is that going to reduce your hot mix budget for next year? Because you've kind of done all your hot mix in one big.
It will to an extent, but there's other roads that's not on this list that's going to be maintained.
Well,
So if you fix this set of roads, there's another
This is
100
not-
roads out there that needs to be fixed.
This is not maintenance. You're still gonna have hot mix and cold mix for maintenance, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and crushed stone. I mean, you're gonna have all that for maintenance still. So it's not really gonna reduce your maintenance significantly. I mean, maybe a little bit. If you upgrade 50 roads in the county, surely they'll last more than a year. But there's a whole lot more than 50
There's
roads in the
200
county.
more roads out there that need to be fixed.
Still a whole lot more than 50 roads in the county. So it's maybe it catches him up to where he can catch up to some other roads on.
I don't
on
see that
repair
that'd
and
be
maintenance.
much. I don't see that there'd be much of a savings.
This can't be maintenance, and I think they discussed, the comptroller's office or the auditors had discussed with me that Barbie contacted, and it can't even be a portion. So like, if it's a 10-mile road and he just does a tenth of a mile, that's considered maintenance, not upgrading the road. It kind of has to extend the life value of the road in order to be able to.
It has to be the whole road.
Right. The majority portion of it is, that's the way they put it. I think is it has to be a capital upgrade. It can't just be maintenance.
Okay, so that's, because that was going to be a question I was going to ask. So you're saying we have to take it to the next level. Like if it's gravel, we've got to go to tar and chip or whatever. And so, okay. So if it's tar and chip, then we have to upgrade it to a paved road. Okay, that helps me understand that too. So like you said, it will help on gravel a little bit. It'll cut back on in gravel for those roads.
So that list you gave us, you're redoing the entire road, correct? The list that you gave us, you're redoing the entire road, not just portions. Okay.
So do we need more information on this and come back maybe Monday night whenever we reconvene, or what do we need to do?
I mean, ultimately,
Do we need to make a
what
decision?
information would, and the reason I
mean,
say that is
it was brought up earlier. I was just asking.
Joey's at 1.5 or nothing.
Yeah.
We've got 2 million laying on there for the county. That's basically, we don't issue that debt. We have accepted the bid to start this project, and I don't want to hit fund balance for it. I don't think anybody wants to hit fund balance for it. That's the way we've been discussing paying for that for some
We've
time now.
obligated the county for $2.5 million.
Right.
Preliminarily, we've got to borrow that $2.5 million to build that building because we've accepted that bid and we've
Correct.
bought that land.
Right.
The only other piece to this puzzle is we either have to say yes or no to $1.5 million. That's it. We've heard that Tyler's
Right.
side of the payment, some question whether or not that the payment can be made or not. That's about the information. That's about all the information you can get, other than how Mr. Warner wants us to.
And it's
to
been
borrow the money.
stated. It's been stated that the highway department feels that they. How do you feel about paying it back? I mean, you've stated earlier that you feel like you can take care of it, correct? And you're quite confident that you can handle it without any problem. And you take care of the books, so to speak, correct?
Joey, y'all are set on 1.5.
What would a payment be on half that?
Roughly half that payment. Lower interest, so it'd be a little bit less than half.
Yeah. Could they afford that?
68, probably.
Could they afford that?
Roughly.
That would be significantly more feasible.
Yeah. So if like a disaster came up, they could probably manage that and handle something else that came along probably.
Too big of a disaster. We're going to be issuing debt on that too. We've been
that.
there. We've been there, done
Yes, sir,
that.
you have.
So
That is correct.
Yeah, that didn't work out so well.
No, we got burned on that.
Yeah. About 300,000.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
may I suggest that for the purposes of continuing the discussion and finding some of those other answers that you might want to be able to find between now and next Monday, I can have bond counsel draft the resolution in a not to exceed amount, just kind of what we alluded to during the budget hearing or during the workshop last week. And then on the floor, we can make those final adjustments after y'all have decided whether you want to go ahead and issue the full, amount plus, issuing costs, or if you want to amend any particular part of it, whether it be the county proper or the highway department.
You can bring those resolutions.
Oh, yes,
back
sir.
next Monday.
Absolutely. Yes, sir, I sure can. But we all agree tonight to use a capital outlay note process. We will use a competitive public sale, which from my standpoint is going to be a little bit more advertising, which I think a debt this size needs to have some additional advertising and that sort of thing to be able to get the most people interested and get the best bids that we possibly can for Fentress County.
Do you need a motion on that? Or you just go ahead and bring those back?
I can just come back with that. Yes, sir.
I
don't think I need to have a motion. That's the
if that's what he
chairman's call.
needs. I mean, don't need it. And then we'll put.
Yes,
Well, he
ma'am.
knows
That's
what that
exactly
is.
correct. And then we can amend it from the floor if you want to. That we can do that also.
Yeah, he knows what the not to exceed amount is. 1.5 for them and 2.5.
Two.
Pardon?
2 million for us, right? Is it 2.5?
Yeah, if we do everything, I'm going to, again, do everything.
2 and 1.5 would be.
That's
not
correct,
to
plus the
exceed
cost
5.
of issuance. And then I'm just going to round that up a little bit more. And we certainly are not, even with the proposal that we talked about last week, going to get near that number.
And then we can put the actual numbers, be prepared to put the actual numbers in on the next meeting, because we can't postpone it anymore.
And I don't need to, Commissioner, I won't need to have the names of the roads or the number of miles or anything to that level of detail. It's more of just a dollar amount, and the purpose within that definition of what a project is what I want to walk away with and be able to do the county's business after that.
Sounds good.
Do we have a motion to something? No motion.
It'll come back on, will you be able to have that by Monday?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I would ask, we do need to have that meeting sunshine, since it's not a regularly scheduled meeting. We need to get that in the local paper.
I think Amanda will be taking.
That would be
We
great.
have other business to tend to on that meeting too, I believe.
Yep.
So Amanda
Yes,
will be.
that would be great.
Thank you for making another trip up here.
What I do for a living. I appreciate the opportunity.
We're going to look at, we're just going to take this back up Monday night, correct?
Yeah, she'll put that on the agenda.
Will this be at the same time as well?
6. Yes.
6 o'clock. Okay, great.
Will you be figuring on the 1.5? Will it be, if Joey says I can use whatever, or is it going to be set on the 1.5, or smaller figures, or 750, or
yes,
half of it, Joey, or anything, or 1.5 or nothing?
We'll have the resolution. We can amend it from there.
All righty, thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you very
for coming
much.
up there.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We're moving article
Could we get a list
number
of
18 to Monday night.
You got them, had them last
I know, but I
month.
don't work there. Is it
From last
you do?
It's Monday, correct?
Would you like me to include those in your packet for next week?
Yes, please. I might have
Is
had
there
it
a meeting this Thursday for something?
jail.
Jill?
This Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meeting Thursday?
5.
Yeah, about 5 o'clock.
Hopefully they can come down.
Is there any other business
Jail.
at this time?
Motion to recess, Mr. Chairman.
Motion has been made to recess.
Second.
Commissioner Benny Hughes, second by Commissioner Lester Good, and we recess until what time?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock Monday night. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary likewise.
For more than a century, Union Bank has been serving the people of Fentress County. Now, as we begin a new chapter in our history of service, we want to take this opportunity to reassure you that while our building may be new, we're still the same friendly people you have known for years. Union Bank, the same people, the same goals, and the same commitment to you. Union Bank, your locally owned hometown bank for more than a century, growing to meet your needs. Equal Housing Lender Member FDIC.